Ben Riggs presents Reading D&D Aloud. Episode 34, Wish, Part 2, with Jonathan Tweet and Rob Heinsoo.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, one and all. Welcome to Reading Dungeons and Dragons Aloud. I am apparently controversial historian Ben Riggs, and I am here today with two masters of the medium of the role-playing game. In this corner, I have a proud son of Illinois, co-designer of Over the Edge, lead designer of 3rd edition, Jonathan Tweet. You are a proud son of Illinois, right?
I am. That's
Good.
right.
And in this corner, I have the Baltic Brainstormer, the co-designer of 13th Age and co-designer of 4th edition D&D, Rob Heinsoo.
Thank you.
He was a lead on both of those, not just the co-designer.
When somebody says my name wrong and Ben's in the room, I hear his voice going, Heinsoo.
Why would that be? I wonder.
It happens.
All right, so I have implored the pair of you to come on here so that I can keep talking about the wish spell because I have become passionately interested in the wish spell ever since I saw it used for the first time in actual play in a Shadow Dark game recently. And we had Skip Williams on to talk about it in first, second, and a little bit in third. But I'm eager to talk about it with the two of you. Should we start talking? Would you like me to read aloud the 3rd edition wish spell to get it fresh in everyone's mind?
I think
maybe
reading it aloud.
Read the 3rd edition wish spell. You might as well read the 4th edition version.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I will read the 3rd edition and 4th edition versions right now.
Excellent.
So this is from the.
You can skip stuff when it starts to get boring, right?
Okay, then I'll jump right in here.
All right, Jonathan, are you going to tell us when it gets boring? Are you going to use this? Yeah. That's how you always look.
Everyone's always boring.
Damn.
Perhaps
maybe it's just you.
Perhaps we are all gnats next to the greatness that is Jonathan Tweet.
Wow.
It's possible. I will say to people who don't know, Rob and Jonathan are close friends. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So,
and even during, apparently even during the days when he somehow wrote this cockamamie wish spell in 3rd edition. Oh my God. John, I absolve you of all responsibility for the words that are about to happen because I suspect...
it's on me. I own it.
You do?
Oh,
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Really? You did it.
That was just me.
Okay. Well, that explains then why it has it. Okay, go on. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
This is already going way better than I hoped. Thanks, guys. This is great. That said,
all you need is two guests who are really good friends who also have the terrible habit of Rob Heinsoo insulting Jonathan. So yeah.
I do want to say when I'm reading this, I can't see you. So if you feel free to interrupt me at any time to talk about this.
Well, we already have. So,
yeah.
But continue.
Okay, I'll do my best. Wish, level 9. Wish is the mightiest spell a wizard or sorcerer can cast. By simply speaking aloud, you can alter reality to better suit you. Even Wish, however, has its limits. A wish can produce any one of the following effects. Duplicate any wizard or sorcerer spell of 8th level or lower, provided the spell is not of a school prohibited to you. Duplicate any other spell of 6th level or lower, provided the spell is not of a school prohibited to you.
Provided it's not of a school. Oh God. Okay, that's funny.
So tell me, Rob, why is that funny?
Just keep going because we're gonna get there.
It's so niggling.
It's so niggling. It's like
if you can't do illusions,
you did study evocation, man. No abjuration for you. Oh, I'm sorry. No wish.
Yeah.
He shows up and says, "No, technically speaking, you went to the wrong college."
Yeah, you got the wrong flavor of wish.
Yeah, but a cleric, feel free. I mean, knock yourself out.
You could still cast prohibited spells just of a lower level. So you can
Oh,
still
Yeah,
cast illusions, even if you can't cast any illusions
oh,
normally. You can use wish to do an illusion. It
I
just
didn't
can't
listen.
be an eighth level illusion.
Oh, it can't be an eighth level illusion. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I
Just
shouldn't have doubted you.
just pay attention.
I
it
know.
is
Trust.
literally
I
it is literally
tried,
the
but the
next point.
words.
It's the
I think.
next point. If you
Uh,
didn't interrupt him, he would have explained all this and we wouldn't have wasted all this time.
well, this is much more fun, though.
This
I
is much more
agree.
fun.
This is
So
delightful.
it's
Uh,
still a little more niggling than it needed to be, but
But it wasn't
so
as niggling.
it
Okay.
wasn't as niggling as you were
Right.
accusing me
All right.
of.
Okay. Good. All right.
so the next point is duplicate any other spell of fifth level or lower, even if it's of a prohibited school. Undo the harmful effects of many other spells, such as Geas, Quest, or Insanity. Create a non magical item of up to 25,000 gold pieces in value. Create a magic item or add to the powers of an existing magic item. Grant a creature a +1 inherent bonus to an ability score. 2 to 5 wish. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's big. The inherent bonus is the bonus that stacks with every other bonus and can't be eliminated or whatever. So now you're talking.
So you mean like when the vampire drains you or whatever it was, you still got that 1 point from the wish. I don't know. I'm ability scoring. I have no idea. Third edition, whatever. Sorry. Continue.
Third edition, whatever. Okay. 2 to 5 wish spells cast in immediate succession can grant a creature a +2 to +5 inherent bonus to an
Now
ability
we're
score.
talking. You can have a
Oh my God. Okay. It's like the wizards get together for a bridge party and they get
yeah, like
five.
let's wish this guy up.
Right.
Yep.
Inherent bonuses are instantaneous, so they cannot be dispelled. Note an inherent bonus may not exceed +5 for a single ability score, and inherent bonuses to a particular ability do not stack, so only the best one applies.
Using wish when under the influence of other psychotropics can result in strange urination, stranger dreams, and I'll stop. But wow, that's
That's
clear text. Go on.
Remove injuries and afflictions. A single wish can aid one creature per caster level, and all subjects are cured of the same kind of affliction. For example, you could heal all the damage you and your companions have taken, or remove all poison effects from everyone in the party, but do not do both with the same wish.
Okay.
A wish can never restore the experience point loss from casting a spell, or the level or constitution loss from being raised from the dead.
Hmm.
Revive the dead. A wish can bring a dead creature back to life by duplicating a resurrection spell. A wish can revive a dead creature whose body has been destroyed, but the task takes 2 wishes, one to create the body and another to infuse the body with life again. A wish cannot prevent a character who was brought back to life from losing an experience level. Transport travelers. A wish can lift one creature per caster level from anywhere on any plane and place those creatures anywhere else on any plane, regardless of local conditions. An unwilling target gets a will save to negate the effect, and spell resistance, if any, applies. Undo misfortune. A wish can undo a single recent event. The wish forces a re-roll of any roll made within the last round, including your last turn. Reality reshapes itself to accommodate the new result. For example, a wish could undo an opponent's successful save, a foe's successful critical hit, either the attack roll or the critical roll, a friend's failed save, and so on. The reroll, however, may be as bad or worse than the original roll. An unwilling target gets a will save to negate the effect, and spell resistance, if any, applies. You may try to use wish to produce greater effects than those here, but doing so is dangerous. Such a wish gives the DM the opportunity to fulfill your request without fulfilling it completely. The wish may pervert your intent into a literal but undesirable fulfillment, or only a partial fulfillment. For example, wishing for a staff of the Magi might get you instantly transported to the presence of the staff's current owner. Wishing to be immortal could get you imprisoned in a hidden extra-dimensional space, as by an imprisonment spell, where you could live indefinitely. And then it goes on to the material components. You need when a wish spell duplicates a spell with a material component that costs more than 10,000 gold pieces, you must provide that component. XP cost. The minimum XP cost for casting wish is 5,000 XP. When a wish spell, when a wish duplicates a spell that has an XP cost, you must pay 5,000 XP or that cost, whichever is more. When a wish creates or improves a magic item, you must pay twice the normal XP cost for crafting or improving the item, plus an additional 5,000 XP, and then we are on to wood shape. All right.
All
Can
right.
I ask you a question? What is just for clarity, and I should have looked this up perhaps. Um, what does 5,000 XP compare to in terms of at that level?
Yeah,
I'll,
if you're
I'll,
18th level,
Your 18th level isn't
that's
5,000
not
XP
it's not much.
isn't it sort of like saying, yes, Mr. Bezos, here's your $5,000.
I can look it up while you discuss.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean, that's right. It's
just curious.
enough that you don't mind doing it once, but you don't want to do it 100 times.
But yeah, but you'll cash wish if you can keep using it, you might cash it 4 or 5 times, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to
I
cost you?
mean,
Anyway,
yeah,
I was just curious if
yeah.
it was a serious amount or a small, and I don't remember. 1,000.
It'll take some
Yep.
flipping, so I'll
Okay.
try and
Okay.
insert it here later. It looks
The
like
DM's book may be much more likely to be the one you need.
yeah.
Um,
Then I'm gonna
and in
let it
fact,
fly for the moment, or else. Hey, why don't I ask the internet? The internet
I
probably
also
knows.
here. La la la.
XP to level up in 3.5.
At 18th level, 17th level.
Let's see.
So, so the experience points cost, that was my idea. It was an attempt to put a natural limit on how much spellcasters were going to want to create if sort of permanent effects like magic items. Um, and the idea was you wouldn't mind doing it a couple times, but you wouldn't want to do it a whole bunch. And I don't know that it worked that well, but it was, you know, it was an effort to provide some sort of balance in a game where, at that level, gold pieces don't matter and whatever.
Yeah. Did
Uh,
you
so
have to?
so
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
so anyway, so that's why things that had big effects, including spells like Wish, had XP costs associated with them. I got that idea from Dave Arneson's book Adventures in Fantasy, where spellcasters had a like a every permanent item that a spellcaster created was counted against their sort of lifetime quota. And maybe you could get your quota up, like by going up in level, um, but you had a but you had a limit of that was how they limited how many magic items can a wizard make. Right.
Well, and feel free to say anything you want to about this, but it certainly seems to me that Wish is one of those things that in first edition probably seemed like, oh my God, this is amazing! What a great idea! Wish, bring it out. Um, but every iteration since then seems to be kind of like, but it breaks the game and can
What,
ruin everything.
why don't you read the fourth edition
Okay, let's
description of
talk about the
Wish?
fourth edition version of Wish, Rob.
Well, you
I looked in my book and I couldn't find it.
but up bump.
So Rob, does fourth
So
edition exist? Does Wish exist in fourth edition?
I mean, maybe it does, but if it does, I thankfully have forgotten.
So I looked
it's
it
not a
up.
standard spell, right?
Yeah,
It's not
it's
a
in the dungeon. I want to say the whatever the Into the Underdark, the Dungeoneer Survival's Guide. It's in there, but you,
Oh, that
uh,
little.
but
Oh,
but
that
obviously
okay.
you didn't write that. That
that
came
was
years
after. Yeah,
later.
I'm pretty sure that was after I left the building, or very
You can
close.
you can also ask him about the wish spell in 13th age.
Well, let's start with the Wish spell in fourth edition. So
Okay.
Rob, can you tell me why there is no Wish spell in the core
No,
books
I
for
actually meant
fourth
to talk
edition?
to Andy about that earlier today, and I didn't ask him. I'm reasonably certain the idea is because it's a really bad effect for a game as a spell that a particular character class can cast multiple times and other characters can't. It's more bullshit fun for the wizard or wizard and sorcerer. Um, I am positive. I mean, look, I can't be sure about this, and if I find the design note or notes on the design meeting where we talked about it, but I'm reasonably certain that the discussion would have gone hell no. So yeah,
So So my understanding of the wish spell is that it started as an effect of the Ring of Three Wishes, and that's where the wish effect began.
Because the
And
magic item was first, like the
magic item appeared in the original
Mhm.
three books, I believe, but ninth level spells didn't come out until Greyhawk. And so at first it was the wish effect was part of a magic item that the dungeon master could decide whether to ever hand one of those things out. And if they did, uh, the power level was ambiguous because it's a magic item that has three uses. If the game master makes it too good, well, it's only three wishes, and so it's too good three times, and then that's done. And if the game master is too stingy, interpreting the wish spell, well, it's a magic item that you got. It's not a, it's not
Like,
part of your character class that you feel ownership of. It's this weird thing that you got that maybe is going to screw you over. Um, that all changed in Greyhawk when the spells went up to ninth level, and classes went up to 20th or whatever, and then the wish spell became something that a wizard could do and conceivably could do multiple times and whatever. And then the wish became baked into the economy where other spells would say, the only way to get rid of insanity is a wish or, some other fancy thing. And so then the wish became sort of this, get out of jail card that other things in the game sort of relied on. We're going to have this really nasty effect, but you can undo it with a wish, right? So
Mhm.
when we did third edition, our job was to sort of rationalize what had come before us. And so the what you read in the description of wish is a rationalized version of the wish spell. I don't know that we wanted the wish spell, but I don't know that we would have chosen to put it in there, but we were trying to replicate what had come before and give the fans what they expected. And so we had the wish spell in there. Um, and the important thing was in previous versions, the main balancing factor of the wish is that the dungeon master, if they want to be a jerk, can find a way to satisfy your wish in some terrible way. And so now it created this weird interpersonal dynamic. The player wants to get as much out of the wish as they can, naturally, and the dungeon master doesn't want them to go too far and give away too much. But if you don't say what is far enough and what's too much, there's no way for the player and the dungeon master to agree. So you can easily get to this point where the player feels hosed because they didn't get what they thought they could get from the wish, um, and you have a conflict of interpretation. And so the long wish spell in third edition is to say, okay, dungeon masters, you can give this stuff away to the player, and you don't have to hose them at all. You don't have to worry about how they worded it or how you could interpret it. If they want to duplicate an eighth level wizard spell, just let them do it.
Yeah.
Right. But if they want to do something extra, like, hey, you're a jackass, you want to wish for something that is not on this list. Now you're in the danger zone, and now maybe the dungeon master is going to do something mean, like imprison you, so you can live forever in prison.
Out of
Um,
curiosity, I don't
yeah.
really remember other moments like that being part of the third edition. That's a particular style of writing and a particular adversarial relationship of saying, it's a little bit, it's a bluff. It's either a bluff charge, like where the bear or the rhino threatens to charge but then doesn't, and that's the game master doing a bluff charge on the player, or it's a, wow, I'm going to screw your character over, in a really, really serious way.
I mean,
You
the
know,
way that we meant it was, look, just stick to the list of safe things. You know,
that's okay.
and I think it was yeah, and again, if wish hadn't already been invented and described, I don't know that we would have handled it that way. But the hope was everyone gets the idea that, stick within the parameters and you're safe. Go outside of them and you can expect to get hosed.
Okay.
Well, a thing that was described to me in the third edition design process was that, you guys came up with a list and you're like, these are the core things that were D&D and that Wish was on that list. And is that fair to say?
I don't know that Wish was on that list. I think we were pretty conservative in keeping spells that we wouldn't have invented if we were starting from scratch. I think we sort of felt like the fans expect to see haste. I think
Mhm.
haste is a terrible spell. Um, but they expect to see it, and so let's give them a version of haste. And if we were doing it from scratch, I don't know that we would do haste, right? Um, and and we knew that we wanted a lot of core spells to feel familiar, but I don't know that that list of um sort of must-haves were things like six ability scores, class and level. It was very basic. I don't know that Wish was on that list.
Okay.
It might
Well,
have been. I don't think so.
well, in
But it
this,
was but it was on sort of our sub list of like, uh, you know, something has to be pretty bad for us to kick it out of the game altogether. And so we kept a lot of stuff that we wouldn't have kept if we were starting from scratch.
and Rob, this is such an interesting pivot because obviously you did a much more thorough reworking of D&D for fourth edition, so you felt empowered and safe enough to be like, Wish just has, as you said, it's a chance for the wizard who already has all this cool stuff to have one other cool thing that like nobody else has, and just out of the game it goes.
I think thinking about it now, I mean, the thing is that the approach that would have been interesting was not would have been to say epic level characters reach the point where they can change reality. And every character has it in them to go ahead and do something that can really shift the reality of the world. Um, that's an interesting plot line and gives people a reason to get to 30th level, and sort of says, do something epic when you're up there. Um, the inheritance of a particular spell that actually is an effect that is incredibly wordy and legally written, almost as if it's a contract with old Nick, to make sure that nothing gets screwed. And then fit, and then always and had all the stories about wishes are uh genies, and be careful what you wish for as a cautionary tale. And the truth is that that particular spirit was another spirit we tried to keep out of fourth edition. It's like we were not attempting to give people false ideas about what they could accomplish. Like, and so, and doing the whole bluff charge of the wish, that actually, I mean, it's amusing as hell, like eternal life and you're imprisoned, but it's, and maybe that's how an epic campaign finds its, oh my God, Shazbot used the wrong, misworded the wish spell again. So let's go save him, but that, I don't think I was very fond of that either. So when Jonathan says the thing about the ring of wishes, that I get it, because the thing is, there's a difference between a magic item that is under the control of the game master, because it's not that often that a player character gets to say, and what I really want is a ring of wishes in the game, and I've got it. Um, Although there were those days when groups moved, player characters went between groups and somehow showed up with a ring of three wishes. Woohoo! How'd you get that? Oh, believe me, it was quite an adventure. But having it live in the game master's treasury there, that's another way that I understand that as the way it came into the game, because it's really different when you've got a character class power. Wizards can cast these spells more than once in their lives. So when we did 13th Age, I mean, when we have a cleric with a resurrection spell, it's not up that high. And the interesting thing about the cleric resurrection spell of 13th Age is that the first time you cast it, it's really fast and it works perfectly. The second time you cast it, it really shouldn't be in combat. and it sort of screws things up. Or if it is, it really screws that person up a bit. The third time is very harsh on both of you. And the fourth time is like, are you ready to retire? So, or I may be exaggerating a little bit because it's maybe it's the fifth or whatever.
Should I pull it up? Because I have 13th Age on my computer right now.
Resurrection. I can pull it up too. I think I've got it right here.
Oh,
But I guess
Yeah, but it's another way of limiting, like letting you cast it a certain number of times, but not an infinite number of times. And it's sort of the same sort of thing that the experience point cost was doing in third edition, but it's a lot more narrative oriented in 13th Age.
And in fact, I have an interesting question about that. Like the third edition version goes to pains to talk about casting it 2 to 5 of them at a time.
Yeah.
Is that because the X level wizard prepares it that many times?
You can prepare it times
Yeah.
where you have 2 wizards or
Got it.
something. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Woo!
Yeah,
Because
that's the top end, right?
if I can do this with one wish, I should be able to do this with 5 of them, right?
Well,
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that was some craziness too.
And I will shout out that to go from 19th to 20th level in according to the 3.5 SRD, it's about 19,000 experience points to go from 19th to 20th, it looks like. So again, a 5,000 XP cost for a wish. That's quite significant.
Oh, it is. Sorry, it was 19,000 to go up.
yeah.
It's 19,000 go from 19th to 20th, so 5,000 XP.
Is
a
it
lot.
1,000 per level? Is it 1,000 to hit second and 2,000 more to hit third? And
Yeah, it's 1,000 to hit second, 3,000 to hit third.
yeah, so
6,000
the
hit
margin
fourth.
is always 1,000 times your level. So whatever level you are, multiply that by 1,000. That's how many experience points you need to hit the next level. I should have remembered that. It's a
Well,
lot
I mean,
easier than like the weird
elegant.
doubling thing. And
Yeah. Right.
was a
Yeah,
long time ago.
Just as an example, the resurrection spell, but the fifth time you're basically killing yourself, and it's only a 50% chance that it works. The second time it takes a while, but you could do it in the middle of a combat. It would just take a few rounds. The third time it's a ritual out of combat. The fourth time it nearly kills you, and the other person's a mess. And the fifth time, goodbye. So now, as an example, that's just, I mean, I've had one of the player characters in our group, Jonathan, I want you to guess which player, keeps on pestering me to go ahead and create 13th Age's version of Wish. And he says,
one of the players in our group,
yeah.
Paul.
Yes, of course.
Of course. Paul is the guy who we used to find all the broken stuff in the game because he picks the class with the best talents and the best magic items to do the best thing. And that's how I got to know him 25 years ago when I played with him for the
Makes a
first
very
time.
good story out of it. It's very
And he covers it in a great story. So it's
Covers
like,
it.
oh, it all seems like you created this character based on this narrative. No,
It really does. It
you
really
you
does.
created this character because it's the best character you can make.
It's like Charlie Brown and Lucy in the football. Every time you're like, wow, Paul's really got an interesting character this time, and that's really great. And then it's like a little while later, you're like, wait a minute.
So fourth edition doesn't have Wish. Does it have Haste? Do you remember?
Pretty sure it does.
What about Polymorph Other?
Oh, yeah.
Polymorph Other was another one of these spells where it's in third edition where we went to great lengths to sort of categorize it because people expected to be able to do it, and you had to explain how to do it.
Excellent question. If it has it's possible that it's in the main book. It's also possible that I don't think it would have ended up in Primal Power, but I mean, preparation. Are we gonna let? Yeah, I can let you do that. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for haste.
Okay, I'll look for
flip.
I mean, I don't like haste as a spell because it doesn't let you do anything you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. You just do the same stuff faster. And so it's super hard to balance. Because anything that lets you do things faster is super powerful. And we had it in there because people expected it, but not because this is an effect that we want to make sure the players have this effect because it's cool and it lets them do cool things. It's it's kind of a flavorless, powerful spell.
Well, and it's just so interesting that when one thinks about game design, I certainly think about it in terms of you sit down and there's a game you want to make. But
Yeah,
if you're designing Dungeons and Dragons, you are not emphatically not making the game that you want to make. You're making a
that's right.
game that other people have expectations about,
That's
which to
right.
me seems a titanically more difficult task.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, we didn't get everything right in third edition. It was a tough task. We had a lot
So,
more freedom in 13th age where we could give people what they're familiar with. You know, it's elves and dwarves and sorcerers. Um, but we had a lot more leeway to leave out the stuff we didn't want or to change the things we wanted to change.
so Skip Williams told me a story about how Peter Adkison was dead set on not allowing Wish to change things in the past. Because apparently at some point in his game, he
Oh,
had is something coming to mind on this?
no, no, but I mean, he ran a super powerful campaign. He called it Super Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And I I played in his campaign once and it was super advanced.
That was the
Um,
game that Powered Armor took care of the problem, right?
yeah, that's right. So, so that's exactly the kind of campaign where somebody could use a wish to cause problems because people would be using wishes actually quite a bit in that campaign. And probably there were super wishes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did not
So
find haste in the player's handbook, but for
so he
fourth
had
edition,
so he said he did not want wish to be able to affect things in the past. That
which is yeah, that's what Skip said, which is why it was so interesting that obviously the last point on wishes, but you can go back one roll, like
one
13
round. That's
seconds
right. That's
back
right.
in time, but that's
That's right.
it.
That's it.
Which is just
So
so interesting. Again, it's fun to hear the little background there. Um, and again,
polymorph is a
go ahead. Sorry.
keyword with edition. No, I'm interrupting you. My apologies. Polymorph is a keyword in fourth edition that applies to a lot of different spells. I There are like the things that turn other people into other things are temporary. Like they're a bat for a round or something
Yeah.
like that. I found a
Yeah.
couple of those. I'm not sure about the polymorph, like the giant polymorph other effect. My
Yeah.
guess it doesn't exist.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's a t terrible effect because the uh, the power of the spell depends on the monsters that the player has to choose from,
Right.
right? Some monsters are better than others for being polymorphed into, and when a new monster manual comes out, if there's a new monster in there to polymorph into, suddenly the polymorph spell becomes more powerful. So it's really hard to balance.
Right. Which
May
is
I? Good.
like which is like the what is this the spell the druid wild shape spell for the druid in third edition, which was hugely
Right.
powerful,
Yeah.
along with control weather. Yeah.
So may
So
I?
wish.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
May I read to you to the wish spell from Shadow Dark?
Sure.
Sure.
Um, and I assume Kelsey will hear this at some point, so just FYI. Um, so this is from Shadow Dark. It's Wish. It's a tier 5 wizard spell. Duration, instant range, self. This mighty spell alters reality. Make a single wish, stating it as exactly as possible. Your wish occurs as interpreted by the GM. Treat a failed spellcasting check for this spell as a critical failure and roll the mishap with disadvantage, which is bad in Shadow Dark. So if you fail the spell, there's some serious blowback that's going to come for that wizard. But other than that, that is the entirety of the spell
So
in
it's in the game
Shadow
master's.
Dark. Pardon?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's in the game master's hands to interpret what the player did. Is that how high is that level in Shadow Dark?
Tier 5, I want to say it's the highest spellcasting tier.
Yep.
Um, but I encountered it in a second level adventure that, as I believe, was written by Kelsey. and it was you're in this like aquatic dungeon, and you find a ruby, and if you put the ruby in the right statue's hand, you get a wish. And by total random happenstance, without me tipping my cards at all, one of my players is like, "Oh, I'm going to put the jewel I found into the hands of the statue," and I'm like, "Ah, this is happening now. This is really happening. This is not a test. This is not an alert. We have a wish live at the table." And it was towards the end of the night, and he made the responsible choice to just say, "Okay, I wish this dungeon were destroyed." And of course, the dungeon gets destroyed, and everything's fine. They get out of there. I don't pull any dirty tricks,
Oh, you
but
didn't. Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't like, well, you get crushed within it because I
You like
wouldn't.
your friends.
You
Yeah.
know, they were servants of the snake god, and it was kind of a fun recurring gig to be like, we're snake cultists, and we're doing this silly thing every week when we get together. Um, so I didn't want them to die, and they won. They got out. Uh, but it was awesome to see the way everyone perked up at the table when it was like, "Oh, you get a wish," and then it was really awesome to see, hey, you can just really kind of do whatever you want here. There aren't a bunch of legalistic limits, but I can see how, man, you give that power to the wrong player, everything could go wrong. And again, Shadowdark is not the game really where you have a like, you know, epic heir to the throne plots, right? Like, you're going down to the dungeon, you're looking for traps and poking things with your 10-foot pole. Um, so it worked fine in there. Uh, but I can certainly see how, again, if you need to have a game that does more than that, it can become a total nightmare for you.
I, I mean,
I,
I
it
think just to think about every other role-playing game we play, like, playing a superhero game or playing a science fiction game or playing a James Bond game, and uh, then just say, okay, by the way, you can change reality any way you want to. It 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 is really a if it's a responsibility given to a single player in an ongoing campaign, it's a little bit like, well, that's giving that, that's putting them on center stage quite a bit. If it's something that the entire group has input on, that's a bit different. Um, I mean, I guess in 13th Age, we try to have players add things to the narrative, and it's almost like I'm going to say, compared to like taking psychedelic mushrooms, I would say that the 13th Age version is a microdose. I mean, it's a tiny little, I'd like this to be different, but there's definitely guardrails.
but you're talking about things that the players do with
The
their
players
icon
do,
connections.
yeah, like on
Yes,
connections.
it's not a character doing it. It's not a
No, it's not.
character magically changing the
Nope.
world.
No, it's not a
Right.
character measure that's changing the
It's
world.
it's a player influencing the narrative. That's right.
Yes, the player influencing the narrative. And Wish could be used like that, but in a big, 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 big way. But it's sort of deliberately asking to be broken. It's like that's the thing. It's almost like saying calling something taboo. It's like, well, why is it taboo? Because it is. But it's like Wish. It's all the stories are you ask for the wrong thing and things screw up. But that's not how we want to play games. Not really.
That so the original Aladdin and the lamp, he gets what he wishes for. He wishes to be like a prince of a castle, and the genie gets a whole bunch of genies to come and build him a nice castle. Like
Sorry,
it's just total, it's wish fulfillment.
he introduced me as what was it? The Baltic something or
The
other?
Baltic Brainstormer.
Good Lord. Well, I'm afraid my people knew the story of the fisherman and the fish.
Well, I mean, I heard that one too.
Yeah, yeah,
Can you tell us
That
that one,
that's
Rob?
it's just basically the story. Be careful what you wish for because oh dear, you'll probably get it and wow, it won't be great. So I I don't
yeah.
think I
The
can.
like the man wishes for a sausage, and the wife is so angry at him for wasting that wish. She wishes that the sausage were hanging
Was
from
his
his
nose.
nose.
Yes.
And then they have to use the third wish to get the
Get
sausage
it
off
back
his nose.
off.
And now they've learned to just be humble fisher
It's
folk
good to
and
be humble fishbowl cannot ask for anything.
not ask for anything above their station.
You know what? It would be really funny to arrange that with the sub players in our gaming group. Give one of them a ring of three wishes, but tell him to blow it. Tell them to blow it, completely blow it. Have everybody else freak out. That is a game master stunt if there ever was one. Game master April Fool's Day. Oh man, can you imagine?
Well, I suppose it is interesting that wishes and narrative are so interesting and fun, and you kind of perk up when you're like the monkey's paw. Oh, you get three wishes here. Suddenly I'm interested. What's going to happen with these three wishes? And yet, it can be so destructive at the gaming table, even though we want it to be cool. And again, it seems like most fiction tropes translate well to a given gaming table, but I don't know that that would be true of Wish almost anywhere. Like even if you were doing an Arabian Nights game, I don't know that that would work. Wishes would work better than that. So it's an interesting crossroads between story and game, to my mind.
I mean, I guess it could work if the group is invested in a particular style of storytelling where the wish is an understood part of the experience. I mean, we're talking about D&D and 13th Age, which are sort of they're die rolling games where you want particular types of success. But if you had a storytelling game of doomed romance, the wish as a gift of the Magi sense might be good. Although it does seem like a cheap, it's possibly a cheap avenue to get there. It's sort of a shortcut. What do
Could
you?
either of you say? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to just ask Jonathan what he thought about that because
Go ahead. Ask Jonathan.
can you
I mean,
imagine running a game with like if you were going to run a game with a wish, what would it be?
I
You're more likely to run a game with haste.
I wouldn't do it. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just so formless, right? It doesn't have any flavor. It's not, you know, it lets you do things, but most of those things are things you could do w-
Anyway,
with other by other means. And then sometimes it's used as the, uh, you know, oh, you got hit by insanity. You need something like a wish to get out of it. Ha ha ha. And now it's the price that you pay in order to undo the bad thing that happened to you. But it doesn't,
it's sort of like power tax, basically.
yeah, it doesn't, it I'm not thrilled by it uh, as a spell, as you might tell.
So, can one of you speak about 13th Age Second Edition?
We both can. In counterpoint, um, 13th Age Second Edition, we decided to go ahead and update it, and I was just thinking of maybe doing a really an update on the spells and powers and things that people didn't enjoy using. Because after playing for 10 years, I've noticed that there are things that, yeah,
Yeah.
nobody chooses that particular spell and
I
nobody
think that
plays.
the one third of the things that were underpowered or less
Yeah.
interesting, get rid of those or fix them.
So we started with that, and then we kept going. I think that Jonathan has been super involved, and I think that there were pieces of the first rule book that he had not done that much with because he had a day job. And so this time around, Jonathan has made like two or three passes on the monsters, and they've gotten more and more interesting, and come up with ways to
Deadly,
all the
scary.
make all the different treasure types interesting, even though they're all still compatible with like what happened in the first game. They're like, there's a reason that you might want magic armor, something beyond magic armor, like a necklace or a cloak or boots, and that's something. The funny part about that is this week I'm actually been doing layout, getting the book ready for layout on in the treasure chapter, and it's like, we only had four necklaces at adventurer tier. Why was that? And the answer is because armor and weapons were so much better that nobody cared. So the good news is by making some things interesting and meaningful, we've ended up doing more design work to fill them in. And we finally explained icon connections with a whole bunch of examples. And so people will know what that part of the game is like to play.
Yeah, the
Um,
icon connections were a big part of the rule set from the beginning, but Rob and I didn't have a lot of experience with them because we had just made it up, and now we've got 10 years of experience with them. So now we're like, oh, this is how they really should work.
yeah.
And so that's been really nice to go back and use all the things that we've learned about how our own game works in order to do it better.
And Lee Moyer, I enlisted. The original book. We had Lee Moyer and Aaron McConnell on the cover with us, and that's the same. It's going to be true with this one. Lee Moyer and I have been working on the art. By which I mean art directing, and I'm really excited. The book is going to look fantastic. Two
Yeah.
chapters are in layout right now, and I've got third or fourth. It's two books instead of one, and it's I think that if we ever do a starter set, it will have the rules that are very, very simple. I think that the book is still very much a game that's probably better for an experienced game master, just because we don't necessarily explain everything from step one. Um, but it works perfectly well for young children to play, and it's simple enough to play, but an experienced game master is still pretty useful. Um, I think that and keeping it compatible with the earlier edition was also pretty important. There are people who've told me, stop worrying about that. Just, we'll go ahead and buy it all again. But I'm like, I just don't feel good about that. I don't want so, you know, really the books, the adventures and things and source books that were published before will still fit with the math of the second edition.
I mean, it would be hard to give up Eyes of the Stone Thief. I mean, that
Yeah.
that keeps popping up on like, best campaign of all time lists. Just Eyes of the Stone Thief.
Awesome. Well, Gareth has another one called Prophets of the Pyre, and it is an adventure that runs from level 1 through level 10. And
Wow.
um, I I have not read it yet, but I've been talking with JM, the developer, and his players have described it as some of their favorite role-playing sessions ever, even though in its original sense it killed them at least twice. And I mean all of them.
God
But that's being fixed to the TPK. So,
That's
damn it,
Gareth.
Rob. Like one of the things that I really enjoy about 13th Age is just the voice of both of you in the books. You're both so avuncular and wise, and it's just such a and again, there's kind of a oftentimes a house style for game books, and if there's a house style for 13th Age, it's just you guys, which just makes it so delightful. And I was just thinking to myself, I'm playing a game right now. I'm not running anything. Oh, it's just kind of like stress off my plate. And now I'm like, I could run 13th Age second edition and finally do the Stone Thief. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
odd.
You know.
You might actually be better prepared for the Stone Thief this time around. The second edition, right? I mean, like there were certain characters who did not have nearly as much as the others, and I would like to believe. And if your party had too many of them, you might have been in a bit of trouble. So I would like in the Stone Thief, because the Stone Thief is highly unforgiving.
Yeah.
And I should ask this question, although I should have asked this a moment ago. Could one of you give the 13th Age pitch to someone who does not know what an amazing and awesome game it is yet?
You want it to be you, Jonathan?
Let me give it a shot.
Sure.
So, uh, the lead designers of third and fourth edition of D&D got together and created a version of Dungeons and Dragons for the players instead of for the corporation. And so combat is faster and more exciting, and the story is more player centered um, and fluid. So better combat, better story.
I would probably like tweak that only by saying that the players get involved with some indie style storytelling techniques that let them add to the half designed world, and every hero has one unique thing, which I think is something that it's been really really fun, because whenever people play, they can make up one entirely their character is unique in some way, and it's the kind of thing you hear about when a hero like becomes a superhero, is like there was always that guy. Oh yeah, that guy. He fought with a frying pan. Nobody else like him. And anyway, the the
Yeah,
unique in 13th Age is something that we could not do when we worked for the corporation.
that's right. The corporation wants your experiences to be consistent and your character to be created by the options that the designers have provided. And for 13th Age, we want players to have the most interesting experience they can have. And that includes making stuff up that, there's stuff about your character that doesn't come off a list or, It's you inventing that, like the character's unique feature, and it matters in the game. It's not just it's more than just chrome or flavor.
So for the thousands of listeners who are going to want to go pick this up now, where can they get it?
It's on BackerKit right now.
Right,
Pelgrane has it on BackerKit. I couldn't tell you the precise address, but I bet we
right.
can put the
I'll
link.
put a link
We
in.
had yeah we had a successful Kickstarter, and now it's on Backer Kit. While Rob and I are very close to finishing.
Got some player feedback on character classes to go through after the Game Master's Guide is not done, but many chapters are headed to layout.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Okay.
and
Can I can
art is maybe there's three pieces that aren't done. One, two, three, four, five pieces that aren't done
Lots
out
of
of
new great art.
160 or
Yeah.
so.
can I ask a final question?
Yes.
How did you two come to be friends?
So
Uh
before online forums, uh, there were amateur press associations, which were uh, magazines where all the contributors would contribute their own little sort of zine within a zine, and then those would all be compiled into one anthology zine, and copies of that anthology zine gets shipped out to everybody who contributed and to everyone else who wanted to buy into it. And so, and then you would talk back and forth to each other like on a forum, and you would have flame wars like on a forum, but it would just be on a monthly schedule,
month
right? Once a
delay.
month, this thing comes out. And so it's a couple of months delay because I say something that makes Rob mad, and then he reads about it next month, and then he writes about it that comes out the month after that. So I don't read Rob's anchor response to what I said for 2 or 3 months after I originally contributed it. So you would think that would keep the flame wars down, but it's amazing.
It didn't at
It's,
that.
it's amazing how fiery things can get, even if
Alarums and
you're moving at a
excursions.
glacier pace.
Alarums and excursions,
That's
A&E.
right. A&E. It was the first magazine devoted to role-playing games,
Yep. And still running, still going.
and still going. So that's
Um,
how we met. We corresponded. We wrote physical letters to each other on paper
I
by
sent you
hand.
we did never had a flame war because I didn't do those.
Yeah.
I sent you a postcard of bicycles talking about how I was reading a book about Africa. Oh, come on, Ryan Ryszard Kapuscinski. Not the one the Shah, which was by Iran. The one about the Portuguese colony. Angola. The one about Angola. And I said something about how elements of it reminded me of Alamarha, and you wrote back a pithy response, something like,
Oh,
"Right,
pithy.
or pithy, yes, except that um, Angola is
Angola
full of
has
people, and Angola is full of guns, and Alamarha is." Go ahead.
uh Angola has lots of guns and few people, and Ala Marsha has lots of people and few guns.
Right, and you ignorant slut. Um, and at which point, yeah, so yeah, we became friends. You were, I was just starting to, I was just starting to work in the gaming industry, and we ended up being part of a communication ring. And I think that I think I worked on the, Jonathan, I think I worked on the edge at the last minute before I
I
met
think you
you.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had started doing helping Jose Garcia and Robin Laws and Daedalus with Shadow Fist, and Jonathan, which wasn't out yet, and Jonathan was doing On the Edge. And at the very last minute, John Nephew shipped me a FedEx box full of paper slips that were the cards, and I got to like go over it. So yeah, so that
I also did a independent zine back in the day, back in the 90s. And I got Rob to he had a column in there that he would do, his anecdotes, where he would tell weird stories about his life.
life. Yeah.
So yeah, boy.
Now I'm
Wow.
interested. I'm like, is that online?
I think so.
I need to
BY,
know more about Rob's life.
BYOD is probably not online. Am I right?
It is not online, but I'm gonna sell some copies as part of my ongoing
Right.
program
Your
of raising money for
merch?
Planned Parenthood. So
Good.
Nice.
Robin Laws is in there, James Wallace, John Nephew, some folks from the UK. It's good times. My late wife was in there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then in closing, I'm going to say, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate it. Listeners, if you like what you're hearing, please hie thee forth to Patreon. We ask for a mere $3 a month. For that, you get access to a Discord. I post episodes based on seminars from Gen Con and other conventions. I'm planning on posting parts of my upcoming book on there for you. I'm trying to make the $3 tier so good that everyone just subscribes to it and that I don't have to have any other tiers. That's my attempt here. That's my plan. We'll see how it goes. But Jonathan, thank you so much. Rob, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.